Welcome back, y'all. It's Brian and Moe at the Coach's Corner podcast. This week, I think we're going to talk about putting in the development off the court. We have a little bit of game stuff to kind of review, and I think maybe this will be a good opportunity to talk about the games we had this weekend and also put it into the context of the difference between people that put in the work outside versus the people that just kind of show up with the basketball. The difference, we could see some of the differences, and so we see them in our kids, and so maybe we want to talk to you parents about how to make sure that the quality time, the downtime that your kids are taking also helps them get better as basketball players. That sound about right, Coach Mo?
Yeah, that's exactly. The proof is there. You do the work outside of the court and outside the field. The proof is there. The results will be there. But we're gonna break that down with actual factual thing that we've seen.
So we're gonna break that down on this episode of the Coach's Corner podcast. This is episode 11. Thanks for tuning in. We'll get to you guys after the intro. Peace. All right, we're back. Some general basic housekeeping stuff. Typically, we would put the game stuff into the housekeeping, but since that's a lot of what our show is about, we're gonna expand on that and tie it into the point that we were talking about regarding putting that downtime, using that downtime to make better players. Housekeeping. So, we're into the season. We had our first game this week, or last weekend. Things went pretty good. We saw some things to develop, some things that the kids really did well, some growth opportunities for the program and things like that. Housekeeping-wise, Basketball Academy is rolling. Coach Mo was having, Basketball Academy sessions on Wednesday. For the littles, we like to bring the little kids in on the front end. Because it's a shorter attention span, and so Coach Mo can really focus on, working with them and giving them that one-on-one FaceTime that they need. But, it's limited because, little kids, their attention spans run out, and when in that context, you don't want to have a little kid that's bored with what you're talking about, trying to learn basketball skills. And so we keep it short and sweet for them on the front end. On the back end, we're doing some real basketball work. Any team that you play for, you're welcome to come through. If you sign up, register for Academy, you don't have to be on one of our teams. And in case really, since it's only 7th and 8th grade this year, most of the people that come through aren't on one of our teams. They're on their own team, but they're looking to get that edge. They're looking to get better. And so they get an opportunity to test themselves against some of our players, and our players get to test themselves against them. And so that's what we got going on with Basketball Academy. We're very, very excited to announce we've been working hard on this on the back end. We're trying to adjust, man. I mean, we're trying to stay ahead of the game. If you're not 2 steps ahead, you're 1 step behind. So we're not trying to lose a step here. We have, we've really worked out this platform, and we've been working hard on getting things set up. I've been, that's a lot of, since I do a lot of the technical stuff, that's where a lot of my attention has been kind of riding and focusing on, is building out a platform that allows us to deliver basketball training in a virtual context. So we're talking about training directly to your iPhone, Android, iPad, laptop, whatever. That's exciting to us, and it allows us to do a lot. It allows us to be really flexible, and so we're figuring out what our opportunities are with it. But you're going to be seeing that launching here in the next couple of days. If you are looking at getting that edge, but you want to stay socially distant, this is the thing for you. Coach Mo can deliver. We can deliver all kinds of stuff. Coach Mo, what are your thoughts on the virtual platform?
Well, I love it. We always try to say we stay ahead of the game. And right now, if you haven't been sleeping under a rock, we know that we're in a pandemic, and things are just different. And so we want to make sure that we're staying ahead of it, and not just staying ahead of it and give you something average, give you something that's going to help you still elevate and grow as a player. And so we definitely want to stay in front of it. But I'm excited about what we have coming up. It's phenomenal what it can be done with it, and we just appreciate being able to deliver something for you guys and continue to grow as players.
Yep, and we're figuring out what the first couple of introductory packages are, but here's the long story short. You're gonna, if you sign up to the regular program that we're rolling out, it's gonna be a certain price point per month, but it gives you access to all kinds of content in terms of, skill work, fitness, calisthenics, strength training. You're going to get some mindset stuff. We're really crafting these programs so that you get something out of them and making sure that they meet the outcomes that Coach Moe has been getting with players for years in this, in this field. And so, but we're trying to give you an experience that is worth. It gives you more value than what you feel like you're paying for it. And so we're trying to give you the best possible value, for your player. And we have the ability to do like leaderboards and let the kids kind of compete against other kids so that they can see who's getting the most work in and stuff. And so there's a lot going into this, and this is our next move, and we're really excited for it to come down. So we're going to be rolling that out in the next couple of days. We've been kind of talking about it, and we had to figure out the right way to implement it. And for those that are currently on our virtual workouts, that's going to transfer over. So we're going to transition that service over to the new service that we're setting up. And you're going to get more basketball-related content, not only just workouts, but basketball stuff to help develop players. And if you want to just sign up for, we can pretty much customize a program for you, to be honest with you. So if you want to sign up for a custom program, that's where you got to reach out to us and let us know what your outcomes are, what you're looking for, and we can create a custom experience for you. And so we're really, really, really excited about that. Big things coming. And it's basically, here's the thing, and this is kind of the focus of the show. Just because we're socially distant, just because we're away, even if everything shuts down, the players who are going to rise to the top are the ones that are going to find ways to get those shots in. They're going to get those shots up. They're going to be practicing the dribbling in the driveway. They're going to go up to the local park or, go over to such and such's house who has a hoop outside, and they're going to get those shots in. They're going to keep working on their game, even if everything shuts down, so that when things reopen, which they will, those players are going to be that much ahead of the players that basically went into hibernation. And we saw that, and I think that's kind of what we're getting into today. We saw the players that went into hibernation as soon as this thing rolled down, and we're starting to see the gaps now in real games. In game time experiences, we are seeing the gaps for the players that went into hibernation. So the virtual platform is the thing that we're putting out there. You still got to put in the work. It's not a magic bullet. You have to put in the work. But this is a tool that allows you to put in some focused basketball work without having to be right there. You can be that. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You can be it in your basement. You can be in your driveway. You can be at your neighbor's house shooting on their rim. But the reality is, this allows you to keep that workload up, even if things shut back down. And I'm not a fortune teller, but I can kind of see trends. I have the ability to see trends, and the trends I'm seeing regarding where we're going with this thing, we're going to start seeing some scaling back here pretty soon. So be aware of that. That's what I got. Coach Moe.
I'm excited. I just agree that, things are going to change. It's continuously changing. But as you know, we've been honest with you guys up front, but, we've been ones that have adjusted and done stuff the right, the way that is allowed right now. And we're just going to be really excited. We're going to be really excited to show you guys this. So and it's not like we're just putting this out and it's basic. We're gonna put our own twist on it. We're gonna make sure that it's a progressive thing for you. That you're not only gonna be doing it, but you're gonna progress in the program. And if once you finish that, you think you got to the next one. We're gonna keep going until you feel that you've gotten the max out of this program.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep Justin. So we love the feedback. Let us know when you are a part of this program, what we can add, what you don't like, what you do like, and we're just gonna make it good.
Yep. And there's Stewie. There's our other partner, Stewie's in the background.
Stewie likes to hang out during these podcasts. I think Stewie wants to get on sometime.
So you heard him a little bit earlier. He's kind of kicking in the background. So if you hear a dog, that's Stewie. It's a matter of, here's the thing. The thing that we're excited about is we got some good workouts. Like workouts that are pretty high-level stuff from names that you know. This is kind of a collaboration piece, and so the names, you're going to see some respected minds in basketball. So we're going to be able to share the best in modern basketball with you, in addition to the best that we have, the best programs that we have. And so it's really, really exciting, and this is a powerful thing. Now, I'll be honest with you, this ain't something that's going to be given away for free. So, we put a lot of time and effort in. It has a tremendous amount of value. But the other side is you need to understand that in order to get the max value out of this thing, you have to put in the maximum effort. Otherwise, garbage in, garbage out. If you have a player that signs up for it and they don't do, and we'll be able to see it. I'm telling you now, if we have a leaderboard, we'll be able to see who's working and who's not. The players with the lowest work rates, especially for our teams. For our teams, if we're looking at the leaderboard and you're not, and you have a low work rate, and we start seeing that reflect in games, don't expect those starting roles if somebody else is outworking you and outperforming you. So that's kind of a warning shot for our teams as well. It's a warning shot. This is, our players are going to be on this platform. Our 7th and 8th grade players are going to be on this platform, and they're going to be expected to do some work too. And if Coach Moe logs on and sees that you're getting, you're falling way, way behind everybody else, and then on Saturday you can't keep up with anybody. You can't. You're getting gassed. You're not executing basic things on the court. We're gonna make the connection.
Yeah, you see it. I mean, you see it obviously. Like, and you get to a certain age and a level of sports where it's very apparent that you're behind.
Right.
And let me clarify this. It's not that we're saying that they're not players that are... Okay, so you get a team with a LeBron on it, or a team that has Michael Jordan or Kobe. We know those are generational talents. But you also know that the other 4 people on the court at the time, they may not be as talented as those guys, but they match that energy. They match that high level intensity they're doing. So if they pick up the pace, you have to pick up the pace.
Well, let's throw this out there. If you have a Jordan or Kobe or LeBron on your team, who's the hardest working person on that team? Jordan, Kobe, or LeBron. That's been historically kind of a proven thing.
That's why they're great.
Yeah, they for all personality quirks or whatever, they work. Anybody that interviewed them, anybody they talked to, that talks about what they did, they worked hard. And a lot of times they worked harder. Well, not a lot of times. They worked harder than the people around them.
Yeah, you don't get NBA. That's a conversation for another day. But I get fired about that. You don't win an NBA championship being average,
right?
And not working hard. It doesn't fall into your lap, So you have to have some level of, yes, you're made the NBA, but now you are a super player because of stuff you do outside of the court.
Well, we talked about it last week. Look at Jimmy Butler. They lost the series. The next day, 2 days, he's on the yacht getting shots up.
Yep.
You know, that's just part of the ethic that's there. He is the best player on the Heat, and while everybody else was on home traveling home and ready to rest, he was getting his work in. So you guys got to look at that stuff. You know, and that's the kind of work ethic that we're trying to instill in our players too. You can be a generational talent, but there are plenty of generational talents that never make it to where they could have made it to, because they had all the talent but none of the motivation. And so that's what this program is. It's a dual threat, because it allows us to really hone our teams and really kind of stay on top of the development and the stuff that they're doing off the court and keep track of that. But it also allows us to bring in players that aren't attached with our teams and allows them to maximize the platform and develop into the kind of players that they want to be. So that's what we're doing with this thing. And it's going to be big, and it's going to be all-encompassing. And we really want you guys to join us on the ride. We haven't laid out price points or any of the other stuff yet. We're not going to talk about them on the air. But I can guarantee you it's going to be a value compared to what you're getting for participating. So that's something we're really excited about, and it kind of goes into our next topic of putting in the work off the court and how we saw the difference this weekend. We saw the difference this weekend between the kids that found a way to get in there and keep things moving, and the kids that went into hibernation. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Take a pause for the cause. We'll be right back at you.
Peace.
All right, so we're back. The work. Okay, so I'm driving out to Bellevue. I'm the ad hoc kind of cameraman, and I've told people this before. I don't come in and record the whole game. We're gonna get a cameraman, or we're even probably have to buy another rig that we can set up to record entire games. The venues that we go to typically have a closed circuit television system, and you can just pretty much buy the highlights or buy the entire game footage, and so we'll figure out how to do that. But anyway, I'm an ad hoc cameraman. I'm driving in to Bellevue to come see this game. Now, I don't follow instructions too well, and so I go to where I think that we're going to have games, where I'm used to us having games. I don't know how I got it in my mind that this is where we're supposed to be. And I blame it on the Busta Rhymes. I'm listening to the new Busta Rhymes. The new Busta Rhymes is amazing.
It's fire.
For old heads, I don't even want to say old heads. For people that are our age, that are into hip hop, it's worth your listen. It doesn't have the weird Busta Rhymes album thing that happens where you're listening to it and then all of a sudden out of left field this track comes on that's pretty much unlistenable and you're just like, oh no. you gotta shut it down. You don't have to really you're not getting that on this album. It's pretty solid, has it has a good mix of contemporary stuff with modern producers and some throwback stuff with some OGs. And so anyway, I blame it on the Busta, so I got distracted. And I drive in and I pull into the lead center. And I'm like, all right, let me get in here. Got all my stuff together, left my phone in the car. And so I'm going to the lead center and it's nothing. I walk in and it's a bunch of girls' games. And I'm like, okay, maybe, and so I walk through all the courts and everything. And I'm like, I think I'm at the wrong place. And so I go back out. I tell him, hey, I got to go back out to my car. We'll deal with this, that, and the third. Go back out to my car to get my phone, look on the phone, realize that I am in the wrong, I am not even, I'm in the wrong building. I'm not even in the right part of town for it. So hop in the car, make the drive out to Bellevue East, which I've been out to Bellevue plenty of times. And I'm sorry if you're not local here, but we're talking about a bunch of local stuff. I've been out to Bellevue plenty of times. Every time I go out to Bellevue East, I get lost. And I know exactly where it is, and I've been there plenty of times. I get lost driving there, and it's no fun driving there at night either. So
it's weird.
It's a weird place to pull in, and so I go in and I go on the wrong side of Bellevue East, and so I'm on the back side of the school, and yeah. Anyway, long story short, I did get there, I got to the game, and I got to this second game and saw our boys really doing well. I was really impressed. I think, it looked like, they had a game to warm up. Coach said that, there was a little bit of a little bit of residual sloppiness first game, but that's to be expected in the first game. In the second game, it came through. One team you could tell had been working, and the other team you can tell there were some people that hadn't really been getting the work in, and I think that they got a chance to see, oh, this is why. Am I on to something there, Coach Moe?
Yeah, and we put two teams. We put two teams in the tournament. Our 8th graders and 7th graders, and they know I'm not gonna hide it. Our 8th graders did phenomenal, and it wasn't an age thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't so let me clear that. It wasn't an age thing. It wasn't. We have a lot of new players on that team. We have a lot of new players because one thing about our teams, we want to remain competitive. But we're also conscious, let me tell you, we're also conscious that right now we're not a traveling team due to the fact that kids do play football, baseball, other sports. So the commitment, they are committed to our teams, yes, during the year. But we are always going to miss 3 or 4. Now that's going to change, and that would have changed in the spring with our AAU teams that we're aiming for. But right now, we know we can play a high-level competition, but we're not a traveling team right now. So we work towards what we have to do. And so that team, typically, how we set this up is that team was a lot of our kids that had tried the online stuff that we had set up. So when everything did get shut down, there was a time here, we're in Omaha, Nebraska, in our surrounding areas where things were shut down.
Right.
They were even our parks were shut down. And so a lot of these kids had to do our online workouts. And they didn't have to, they did. And they continued to, it was warm. So they found a driveway or they found a sidewalk and they did the dribbling stuff. We did some of the, the plyometric stuff. And they stayed back with basketball-minded activities, with our online stuff. Some of the other kids did do in person when we started opening up slowly. So we were able to do, groups of 8, social distance and spread out, or 6, whatever we were following, whatever the state mandate was. Fast forward to that, we saw that come out during this game. And I was more than impressed. And people know me, I was speechless and impressed on that team a lot this weekend. Like, where I get in the huddle and Coach Ian can tell you, shout out to Coach Ian, the players, and I was just telling them, like, hey, good job. I was like, this is good job. You guys, your energy that started the game is matching the energy at the end of the game.
Right.
You guys are communicating. You guys are handling the ball. There's not turnover. These are things we talked about in our online things like handling the ball, keeping tight handle with it, hustling to plays, diving on the floor. Stuff that we talked about on our online thing that they actually went over and did it. And shout out to Dave Felici for the tournament. Thought it was great that they limited the amount of people that were in. I thought they did pretty good with the social distancing, not letting a whole bunch of people in. Kids had to have masks as they sat on the bench or before they came in the game. Plenty of hand sanitizer as well. They followed that well. And I think the kids overall, through all the stuff that went on, were very focused. Very focused. And that team was ready to go. Now, my 7th grade team, I'm your coach. And I got to be honest with you guys. We saw some very good things. But we also saw some concerning things. And the concerning things is, as you hear me talk about the 8th grade team, the online classes, we did get a chance to get back to the parks, coming to the workouts, the extra stuff, like maybe running hills. Running hills didn't require being next to somebody. Going to a track didn't require being next to somebody. That stuff you could have put your mask on and did. we didn't see as many kids in that team as we did. That team is extremely talented. But we did see kids running out of gas. We did, and that's not typical for our teams. We did see kids that were making silly mistakes with the ball that showed me they were not prepared for the level of competition they were playing.
Yep. And we're chalking it up to first game, first or second game kind of, especially, because we talked about the comeback and stuff like that, giving up a lead and things like that. That's to be expected in the first game. It's not an excuse. Not an excuse on anybody's end. But we do need to address the things that were the obstacles to victory so that we can navigate those and have a more productive year, have a more productive, the next tournament that comes up, we're a little bit more productive. We're getting a little bit better each tournament. And so we're expecting, I think the other side is, and the kids that have been with us the entire time, where they didn't slow down, they were actually actively looking for the work, and the ones that said, hey, you know what, I see you guys working, I want to be part of it too, and they came out and joined us, they kind of have that mindset where they're going to, if the work isn't in front of them, they're going to go find it. And I think that's a lesson for, players on both teams. Look for the work. If it's not available, if we go back into shutdown and they shut down the gyms and everything and shut down the schools, it's gonna be on you to go find out where you're gonna get the work in. Coach Moe is only one person, and so our programs are set up for, we want kids that are going to take that higher level of hey, I got to go out and get the shots up, even if I can't come out to the open court. It's impossible for my parents to transport me out, and Coach Moe can't pick me up. Okay, I got to figure out how to get this work in, and that's what I keep harping on it, but that's what our virtual stuff is going to allow us to do. It's going to give you more of a structured platform to put in basketball-related work. But the reality of it is, nobody's going to hold your hand through it, guys, and eventually, girls, at some point. Nobody's going to hold your hand through it, boys and girls. You guys are going to have to step up and look for the opportunities to get your work in. And that's not just a Coach Moe athletics thing. That is a high school, I want to play high school basketball thing. Because the person whose roster spot you're trying to take isn't sitting around going into hibernation when everything shuts down. They are out there seeking the smoke. They're looking for the work. They're looking for games to get in. They are out in the driveway. They're in the basement. They go outside and dribble the ball. They go in the garage and dribble the ball. They are doing the things that top players do. Top players work. They don't just show up. They don't just show up with a basketball. And I think part of the people showed up with uniforms and basketballs. And they thought that that's all it took. And they kind of ran it. They kind of got shocked a little bit. I think it was a good thing.
Right. And I think we're at the age now where, let's face it, when we talk about this, and the reason why we go back to some things, we talk about the talking to the player and those things here, we want to make sure you get it. I think myself and Coach Hep, we talking about repeating something 7 times. If you repeat it 7 times, it sticks with you. And if it's, hey, get up and dribble basketball. Hey, get up and dribble basketball. Hey, to do it 7 times. You hope by the 5th they hear it, the 6th they hear it, the 7th they got it. And so we go back sometime to remind people, it's like, look, you should have had this conversation with your athlete. And now we're like at the point where this is either going to be a competitive, serious thing for you now in 8th grade, going into high school in 6 months, or it's fun. So if it's fun, the outcomes don't matter, I guess. If it's just going to be recreational fun, it doesn't matter, I guess. But even, here's where I go back to the word fun. We thought about this word fun.
Yeah, because that's the next segment I want to get into.
I have to bring this up. I'm sorry if people get their feelings. I asked the kids that one. Now, we had the average score. I'm not petty like that. In my old age, I am petty. But we looked at the scores. We won every game by an average of 35 points. And that's not to say, Maybe the competition, maybe we're just that good. I think we are, you know. But what I'm saying is, when I look at that, and I ask the kid, like, what did you do this weekend? And they say, that was fun. I didn't prompt that. And the kid's like, man, this tournament was fun. It was fun to do this. I was like, what was fun about it? Man, the way we communicated, the way we got aggressive, the way we got on the ball, the way we were scoring, the way we talked, high-fiving, they were turned up. And they were excited. And they were having fun. And winning is fun. Getting on the ground, hustling for basketball is fun. Seeing your work that you did in the spring, the summer, online, in your driveway, to come to fruition in a game, and it all comes together, is fun. It is fun. So I think we have to, as parents, as player coaches, whatever, you there, have to go back on that definition of fun when it comes to sports. There's fun when I'm riding a roller coaster. That's fun. But there's fun in basketball, and that fun is after I do the work, here's my reward. After I finish the job and I get to the top, that's my reward. That was fun. The work was hard, but the results are fun.
So we're going to talk about the fun thing. We're going to talk about the difference between kids having fun in a competitive game and I don't know how many Cosby Show heads we have here. The big fun. That's not really that fun.
Right.
And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to take a pause for the cause, and we will be right back. All right, we're back. So I think we're going to get into fun in a competitive context versus that big fun that's not really that fun. And here's what I'll do. I'll throw it back. I know Cosby has earned his status as a pariah in this society, and so, but the show was iconic. One of the more iconic moments, and it was pretty much the closest thing I've ever seen to a horror movie on a comedy show, was when Vanessa went out to go see The Wretched, and they snuck out, took the car. We're in Baltimore to watch The Wretched, and then then the car got stolen and all that other fun stuff, and then they had to go pick her up. And closest I've ever seen to a real horror movie, watching Claire go through the familiar. It was familiar as a child of a parent like that, where they could drain the fun and that if you disappointed them, you felt like the world was you felt like the house fell on top of you. And Claire sarcastically saying, "Big fun." But it wasn't fun, and that's the irony of the whole thing. It wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't an enjoyable experience. They went out to go have big fun with The Wretched, and the bottom fell out of everything. And now Vanessa's literally on the verge of I almost want to say a serious physical injury. If she didn't go to bed at the right time, where she's literally walking the tightrope of, the next thing I say could be the end of me. That kind of big fun versus we're going out and we're playing a competitive basketball game. We're going to lay it out on the court. We're going to have a good time doing it. Those are the kind of things. And so when we talk about winning is fun, the kind of winning that isn't fun is the kind of winning where one kid or two kids show up ready for game time, ready to play. They've done the work off the court. They mentally did the work, which means they came in, they walked in a gym or wherever we're playing, mentally ready to play ball. There's no such and such as an earring they got to cover up, or such and such needs to change their shoes, or I left my goggles at home, or whatever. They're ready to go. They show up, and then the rest of the team just kind of casually strolls in. 3 minutes before game time, nobody's warmed up, they haven't got their shots up, and the one or two kids has to do all the heavy lifting for the rest of the team that decided that they I don't know what they're planning on doing. I think they're just looking for a jog. They're looking for an afternoon jog where a basketball is involved. I don't know what it was. And so
out there just running around.
It's not
exercise.
They're trying to get their cardio in. All right. Even if that team wins, that's not fun for the kids that did all the heavy lifting. That's the big fun. Mm-hmm. That's that sarcastic, unfun kind of fun that winning comes with. And losing, then there is no big fun. It's horrible because you went out there, laid it on the line for somebody that just, they just kind of showed up, and then they were casually there. And when you lose, they aren't looking internally. They're pointing the finger at the people that showed up ready to play ball. They're like, well, look at the shots that you missed. Look at these turnovers that you committed. And the kids that showed up ready to rock and ready to go were like, but we showed up ready to play. And when you play, sometimes you miss shots and sometimes you turn the ball over. You showed up. I don't know if you were showing up what you expected when you came here, but you weren't armed up. You weren't ready. You showed up. You weren't ready. You weren't ready for the game. You showed up 5 minutes before the game. Mentally, you weren't prepared. Physically, you weren't prepared. Your awareness when you're on the court was, lackadaisical. You got hit in the face with the ball. You weren't executing the basic things. That's not that's anti-fun. That's not any kind of fun. But they're not equal, because if you lose, and everybody feels bad. But if you win, the people that did all the heavy lifting, they don't feel that win. It doesn't feel as good, And we've seen it with kids, and we talk to the players. We check in with the players. The players that do the heavy lifting when nobody else is willing to show up and do the work, they don't really. The victory isn't as sweet for them. Now, contrast that. Everybody shows up ready to ball. Everybody's on the same page. They go out and have a competitive game. They win or lose. But they had a great competitive game and they can look up and down that bench and know that everybody did everything they were supposed to be doing and then some. That is fun. Going out and having a 35-point margin of victory is fun if everybody is out there doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's not just relying on one or two people. That's fun. So when we say winning is fun, we're not saying only winning is fun. It's not. We never said there's no only implied. We're saying winning is fun if everybody shows up and ready to compete at the same level. Am I on to something there, Coach?
Yeah, it is. And so it goes back to shout out to the kid. Bring this up. This all ties into it. It's National Signing Day. A little bit yesterday, a little bit today. Today, I think it's the official. Where some of our college athletes that have worked with us did sign it, and we actually say their names. So shout out to Chucky Hepburn, Greg Brown, Bradley Bennett. And I know if I'm missing somebody, just, you guys can yell at me later. That's worked with us over the years and is proud. These are the kids that did work outside of the normal practice, outside of whatever. And so they're the ultimate recipients of having fun. And it's just having fun because they're like, they know it was hard work. They know it, but to get to your senior year and your end reward is to go continue to play at a higher level than you are now, to continue on and get your, get your education paid in a lot of sense, and get to play a sport. That is doing it. And I'm gonna tell you what, I have traveled with these kids in the AAU circuit, and you talk about having fun. You talk about the bench being lit up, the high fives, the chest bumps, the funny noises they make when they're winning games and they're relaxed. Talking about what they're gonna do afterwards. Hey, we're going to Chili's. We're gonna have fun with because we put in the work enough to beat this team that we're playing handedly. Enough to be able to sub kids in and have them be able to play and keep winning, and it was fun for them. And the fun's going to continue with the more success that they have. And they did have tough time. And this is what I'm telling you. being a high school coach, a college player, to coach these boys over there, you are going to have games and situations and things that are not fun for the coach or the kids or those things there. And that's where you have to grow and you have to get better. But if it all connects, it all clicks, even in the tough game, if you lose a game and you know that team that beat you by 40 last time and it only beat you by 2 this game, and you put everything, give your all to it, there's smiles at the end of that game.
Right.
There's tears because you were there, you're passionate, but then they're like, hey man, we made it. We're gonna get you guys next time. We're gonna get you guys. I put in the work, we're gonna be here next time.
So I'll ask you this question, Coach. So for the kids that, okay, so we talk about the difference between your competitive athlete and your recreational athlete. And then your competitive, where they're gonna have a career, some kind of career in basketball after high school. Would you say that for those kids, the process of getting better, the boring stuff, is actually fun for them?
I would say eventually they've made it fun.
Yeah,
they have made it fun. They made it a competition. They made it. Everything's hard when you first try it. But then once you get it, like, I know I got to do this drill if I'm in the same basketball program for 4 years in high school. I know eventually the coach is going to expect me to run this play and this kind of drill. So once they get a handle of it and they perfect it and make it better, they can make a game out of it, then it becomes easier. It becomes a little fun for them because, hey, I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to get on to my scrimmage because I did what I was supposed to do today.
I think, the process, people overlook the process. They look and it comes in a lot of fronts. I have marketing clients that I work with. You have to, if you really want to do this, the marketing stuff or pretty much any endeavor that you want to take on, and you want to become proficient at it. And I'm not talking about where it's just good enough to make it by. I'm talking about being proficient at what you do and see positive outcomes with a lot of different things that you implement. One of the things you got to do is you have to enjoy the process of getting better. And not every kid has it in them. That's how we determine this kid might be a recreational kid versus this kid is a competitive high-level kid that we can put on our AAU team and travel with them. That's the difference.
Let me ask you something. This is on my mind. I got to break character a little bit here. Yeah. Even in 8th grade, even in 7th, even in 6th, even if you're playing rec, don't you want to win a game?
Right.
I guess I try to figure the mentality. I'm like, yeah, you may not want to play at this high level, practice 4 times a week and those kind of things there, but I guess I got to understand what's going on in that huddle. And I also had to understand what's going on with the parents at that age and the player. Like, even when I was coaching my brother at the Y in 1st grade, I knew it was, right? I'm teaching them to put points on the board and keep the other team from putting a lot more points on the board. So slowing them down.
Right.
And passing right and playing defense right. So, yeah, we talk about the competitive level about that, but I still don't think it's fun.
Right.
Bro, if you're in a rec thing, you're still losing.
Right.
By a lot. Especially at a certain age.
Well, going out just to go out there and just gork around and nobody's taking it seriously. Even when we were playing, we played intramurals in college. Mm-hmm. We did flag football tournaments. There is nothing fun about going out there and just crapping the bed and people aren't really they're not even trying. It's just, I'm just out here to be out here. That isn't fun. And I would push back. Okay, so now we're about to piss people off here. I would push back against any parent that thinks that dragging a kid that hates basketball or hates a sport clearly does not like playing, doesn't like work, doesn't like working out, doesn't like physical activity. If you take this child and literally, and some kids you have to, I mean, some kids little, when they're little, there's a difference. Okay, I'll say that. When there's little, sometimes you have to make that overriding difference. Like, no, you're on this team, you made a commitment, you got to see it through to the end. But I'm talking about 9th grade, 8th grade, dragging this child who has no interest in a specific sport and putting them out on the field and forcing them to play it. And they're giving a piss poor effort. They're not doing what they need to do. The teammates are getting frustrated. The coach is getting frustrated. You are actively doing a disservice. And you're not helping anybody. You're actually ruining other people's experiences. Save your money. Find something your kid likes to do. Put them in that. But forcing your kid to be on these teams and participate in these things where this kid clearly has no interest, it ruins an experience. And we actually had kids that were kind of on that track in the system, and what they did was they screwed around, almost hurt people, pissed the other kids off, wasted coach's time because this kid really didn't want to do it, and it's the parent looking for an activity to put their kid into. You can't do that to you guys got to think. A lot of times you have to think about the context of the other players, and the other players don't want to put up with your kid coming out half-assing it and not putting forth a real kind of effort, and just wasting everybody's time. That is unfun, and I don't know what to tell you. You know, you want your kid to have physical activity, you can mandate they have physical activity, but that doesn't mean that they have to be on a basketball team. Doesn't mean they have to be on a football team, soccer team, volleyball team, play golf, bowl, whatever it is that you're forcing them to do. That doesn't mean that they have to be there to ruin everybody else's experience.
The conversation I had with my mom growing up was, if I put you into something, you better give me the 100% effort into it. Like, or I'm not coming out paying money to watch you play basketball and throw up every weird shot, turn the ball over, roll on the ground, do stuff that's not basketball related in 8th grade. She's like, I will stay home.
Right.
I will stay home. And now that I'm a parent, I understand that because I have 3 in my house. They are at 3 different levels of sports, and I know which one's competitive. I know which one is just having fun. I know which one there. And so I am not, when they all get to 8th grade or coming into high school, I am going to have that conversation way beforehand and say, if you just want to be with your friends, we can do a sleepover. Right. You know, we can just do a sleepover. We can meet at the park and you guys have a friend day. If you're playing sports because of your friends, because you think it's cool to be around them, we'll just have a get together. We'll have a pizza party and we'll have fun. But do not have me coming out to 16 games where you're halfway playing and you are just looking in the air, pulling up grass, and you're playing soccer and not paying attention, because that's a waste of everybody's time.
Well, and here's the thing. A lot of it, and I kind of talked to the industry, the sports industry, the youth sports industry specifically. A lot of it has to do with people that are in it for money, and they will literally put up with any kind of child behavior. And they basically have undersold their business and their expertise. Let's keep it buck here. So they understood their business and expertise, and basically they've decided that they want to be glorified babysitters who do athletic activity. Mm-hmm. And then they set that baseline of expectation, and then they end up getting themselves frustrated when they got to babysit a bunch of kids that aren't engaged, they're not involved, and they don't want to be there. I'm going to tell you this right now. We had, he's probably about 9 or 10 now. We had an 8-year-old that came through that took the game more seriously than a kid that was a junior in high school. And this kid was going out there playing against the big boys and having the time of his life. And the kids love playing with him. And Coach Moe knows who I'm talking to. If you're within earshot, we'd love to have you back, man. I know that, we got to be aware of the pandemic and everything, so whatever your comfort level is, but we'd love to have you back. But this kid, well, he loved it. He was there and he was serious. And Coach Moe enjoyed having him there. And we had kids that were older than him who couldn't figure out that this wasn't everybody's happy go play around time. and wanted to waste everybody's time. We don't have time for that. We're not a babysitting service for teenagers. I worked probation. I worked juvenile probation. It's complicated. I had a lot of juvenile probation kids on my caseload, and I had I actively managed cases for probation, but they weren't. Anyway, you would have to understand how the state of Nebraska works to understand how this thing works. But legally, a contractor can't be a legal guardian for a kid in the state of Nebraska, which is actually a good thing. But they were still my kids on my caseload, and they're still on juvenile probation. It was my job. I was the main person there supervising and making sure that they had things to do. There are plenty of services that made a lot of money babysitting teenagers. We ain't one of them. And nor do we want it to be, and we want better for our kids, and we want better for our kids and for our kids as parents. And so, what I'm saying all that to say this: stop making your coach your babysitter. If the kid doesn't want to play, they don't want to play. Don't ruin everybody else's experience because you want your kid to have physical activity. Find something else to do.
I posted on my personal page about a week ago about taking responsibility for your own actions. Adults, this is aimed at you. The kids, we're going to preach that they're going to be like that the rest of their lives. Even when our kids are in their 20s and 30s, they're going to come to us for money and, and advice, and we're still like, hey man, take responsibility for yourself. The parents take responsibility. I used to bite my tongue with stuff when I was a young coach, when I was 19, 20, 21 years old, and you just accept things, and you're like, because you're trying to get people to like you. And as life goes on, and as a coach, and in the business, and when you're just trying to develop kids and get them to that next level, as life goes on, you realize that doesn't help any situation. And so you just have to be real. And so holding yourself accountable is, I need to talk to the coach that we are not prepared. Thank you for those conversations. Be honest with me, Tell your coach beforehand, before the season starts, like, we really didn't do anything. Knowing you have to be responsible. If you look around and saw that all the rest of the team was at this workout, this workout, this workout, this workout, and you know that your kid missed 3 months of those workouts, that conversation probably should be had. Like, I don't think my kid's going to be up to that level. And I appreciate those. I don't appreciate when you're telling us, and no coach does, that you have been working hard, and then you go to the games, like we saw, and it's there. Again, it's not saying missing 12 shots is a bad game.
Right.
Because people have off days all the time. We're saying it's the unaware of what's going on, last one down the court, not really realizing what you're doing out there, arguing about stuff that you shouldn't be arguing about. That shows us as a coach you aren't ready. And the responsibility of the parent has to be honest. Just be honest with you, and be honest with whoever you work with. There are a lot of great trainers out here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great coaches in different teams. Be honest with your trainer.
Right.
Tell them that the homework you gave that kid, they didn't do all week. Tell the coach that we didn't really go to the weightlifting program. We didn't go to that kind of thing. Be honest. So we, as coaches, can probably put you on either our B team or get you some extra work, or we know how to use you in games.
Or we have relationships with plenty of coaches in town. We can refer you to a team that might even be a better fit for you to match the kind of level of energy that you're putting into basketball in the off season. Because, and I'm saying all that to say this because we got to take a pause for the cause here. But, make sure that you're not just showing up with a basketball. Don't be the coach. Don't be the parent that shows up with the basketball and expects that your kid is going to be able to go out there and run with kids that have been operating on a high level for the last couple of months. So we're going to take a pause for the cause. We're coming right back. We're going to take a deeper dive into showing up with the basketball and what that actually means. All right, y'all, we're back. So just showing up with a basketball. We need to discuss this because I think I think people are. I don't know if I'm really conveying the meaning of what that actually means in my mind when I say just showing up with a basketball. When you just show up with a basketball, that means that. And you can. Let's toss out all the sports movie cliches that you've ever seen about the coach getting there and sitting down and the team is all. Nobody wants to be there, and everybody's minds all these other places, and then you have the coach come in and give an impassioned speech and get everybody all fired up, and then they go out and dominate the second half and come back from behind and win. That typically doesn't happen. If the players don't want to win, there ain't a coach on this planet that's going to get them to want to win. And wanting to win isn't exactly what it sounds. When I say a player doesn't want to win, that means you're showing up and you have to it has to be drug out of you. Like your best effort has to be drug out of you, kicking and screaming, fighting the whole way. Ain't a coach here that runs a successful program that want to do that. I'm sorry. They don't want to sit down with you and try to force you and drag it out of you every single time. Your best effort. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody has time to do that. And so when I say show up with a basketball, that's what we're talking about. The players that have to be where the coach has to spend all this time in their ear, and it's not even, trying to get the best out of them. It's trying to get effort out of them. Trying to get an effort, not the best effort. Just trying to get something.
Give me a pulse.
Yeah. Show me that you care about this. Show me that this matters to you. I think that we do need to. That's what I'm talking about, just showing up with the basketball. And the ones that it ties together. The ones that don't put in the effort. The ones where it's a chore to get them to go out and shoot the basketball or go out and dribble or go out and do whatever. Go out and practice their game. The ones where it's a chore to do that stuff are the ones that end up falling into that later category of now you're a high school player who has all the talent in the world but none of the motivation. And coach has to sit there and basically beg you to act like you want to be in a basketball game. It's not you're swimming out of your depth, you're not scared, you're not freezing on the big stage. You're not engaged. You don't want to be there.
And the world sees it. So we have seen it when we were playing teams this weekend. I've seen it with other teams with their own coach, where you see the kids were taking off their shoes, taking off their jersey. I mean, like sitting on the bench, walking off, getting snacks. Like, yeah, I mean, one part is funny to me because man, that means you got whooped. But the other part is like that kid. I don't think was probably engaged in the first place. And how do you keep that kid engaged after this? After a loss? What have we taught those kids?
Here's a warning shot to other coaches. I'm going to just tell you this. When you have your best player out there on your squad, and they're carrying the dead weight of all these other kids that don't really want to be there, and you haven't done the job of talking to the parents and saying, don't show up if your kid doesn't want to play. You might as well not even bring them here. I don't want to put a jersey on them. Those kids end up getting fed up.
Yep. And
then their parents start talking. And here's the thing. Their parents start talking to the other coach. Now, we never go out and try to poach people's talent. All the talent that comes to us is come to us freely. But that's what happens because even though we may not win every single game that we go out and play, they know that we're taking it seriously. And they want their kids on a program that takes this thing seriously.
We're teaching them plays. We're teaching them how to compete. We're teaching them what the next level looks like. Our kids, right now, I can say our 8th grade team are high school players.
Right.
They're going to not only make a freshman team, but you'll have 2 or 3 that will probably shoot up varsity and not play. You know, because they're serious about the game.
Nobody wants to show up and get their spine kicked in, even though they're giving their best effort. And the reason why they're getting their spine kicked in is because everybody else on the team just showed up with the basketball. They didn't show up on time. They weren't warmed up. They were late. You get what I'm saying? And so what we're saying is, for the other coaches out there, if you have a player on your team that you value, make sure that you're demanding effort out of the other players on that team, because it's not fair for that star player to have to carry all that weight.
Well, I'll tell you that first to tell you I'm not perfect, and no coach should sit up here and lie to you and say that they're perfect. Two players, example, my brother, Coach Jordan, when I was coaching him, he was my first, kid to coach. You can't turn back the clock. You can only grow from here. I did it wrong. And what I mean by I did it wrong was he was a very good player. They really loved it. Him, Derek Mayhew, shout out to Derek, and Ryan Hess. I see Ryan every now and then too. The boys are grown men now. And those three were engaged in the game. They gave effort. They want to be there. And there were a lot of kids that were just on the team.
Right.
I made the mistake as a young coach to just try to figure it out and just keep those kids there, and we're just going to keep doing it and try to figure it out. What I didn't notice was those three that were really good started getting frustrated. They started getting, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm carrying this team, and I'm doing things outside of basketball. I'm doing things, and I said, let's just keep working through it. We're going to keep fighting through it and do it. And then I end up losing those two kids, and then I end up losing the development of my brother that I could have stayed on, and I did that wrong. I was 21. Now I'm 41. And now what I do with Ami is a very good player, and it's obvious that he is, and he's not arrogant. He's not there, but Ami has been on those situations, and what I did was, okay, I hear you now, and I said, I need to get you in a situation or with like-minded teammates that want to also compete and win too. So when you're people that are like, and this is where people are not real with themselves, and you'll say, man, that team has different kids every year. That kid's every year, because the expectations I have now for myself of being in this game and having experienced a high school coach, AAU coach, is you got to surround the very good players with players with like-minded tendencies to win games as well. And so this weekend, I saw a team of kids that were like-minded that wanted to do the same thing as Ani did. Ani was a great player. I also have other great players on that team too. And it was, I could look up and down that bench, and there wasn't one or two I could talk to that was like, that energy didn't match. Everybody had that energy. So as my approach now, and I think a lot of coaches should learn from that, as you grow into coaching and you grow in a parent, and this conversation you have with your kid, go with like-minded kids. If your kid is the best one, has carried those teams, has honestly stands out, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, the conversation has to be had with the kid and the coach, like, are we in the right fit? And this is where we talk about the open communication and saying, we are overwhelmed.
Right.
Or we are in the right fit. How do I have my kid catch up to the other four?
Right.
What do I need to do?
Because the kid has it mentally, but maybe their skill level or their experience level isn't quite where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. We can fix those. We can fix the skills. We can fix the experience piece of it. Talent's a little bit hard. Talent level's harder to fix, but we can mitigate talent through execution. Mm-hmm. We can mitigate talent through good execution. So we've had players that they may not been the most talented players on the floor, but they executed better than anybody else, and that's how they beat the guy or the girl standing next to him, because they executed better. But do not leave your great player marooned on a team of people. And it's not just bad teams, because there are bad teams that still want it. There are teams that are young and they're still learning, or the players all have their flaws, but they're learning to work around it. And they may lose more games than they need to, but they got it. You can tell that there's something there. We're talking about a team where the coach is disengaged, the players are disengaged, nobody wants to be there, and your kid's the only person that wants to contend. Now you're setting it up where they got to learn how to carry a team. You're setting it up so that you may end up killing the passion of the game in them because they see it as a chore. It ends up becoming a chore. I have to carry these people on my back, and here's the thing: if you're going to carry somebody on your back, wouldn't you rather have the person that says, "Okay, I'll climb on your back. I'll try to shift my weight so that it's not such a strain on you, and I won't fight you. So I'll gladly climb aboard, but I'll make the process of you carrying me a lot easier." Or would you rather say, "Okay, so I'm going to climb on your back, I'm going to load my pocket up with butcher knives, and I'm going to sit awkward on your spine so it's harder to carry me. And then in order to get me on your back every single time, it's going to be a veritable fist fight where I say I want to go, but then I fight against you and push against you. And so basically you have to grab me and drag me and put me on your back and haul my carcass with butcher knives in my pocket, sitting weird on my spine across the finish line." What would you rather be?
Not that one.
Yeah. And so that's where I'm going with this, guys. I think, even though you may have great teams and one player is the one that ends up, they might have a game where they're just the player that carries the team because everybody else is kind of, they hit a cold streak or they're just kind of in their heads. Even great players will understand the context of what they're in, and they understand, okay, the team is engaged most other games. This is just a bad day. We just had a bad day. We just rolled out of bed, and everybody had a bad day. But
on top of that, the energy that player has displayed, that leadership that player has displayed, that hard work ethic makes the other players, when they have that off game, they pick them up.
Right.
They pick them up. So it's okay to have that off game, and that kid doesn't feel as bad because they're like, you know what? Thank you, because they're doing it. Right now, Ami's on the concussion protocol. Had a pretty rough game in the third game. We won. Had some rough players, coaches. Hey, I get real leery of what's being said to some of these kids. How they go out and how do you that's another story. But coaches, be very careful when you're playing players that are out to undercut kids and those kind of things. These things are starting to get pretty obvious in those games. So right now he's out for a concussion protocol. When he went down, the team didn't skip a beat.
Right.
We subbed in, and the team even put more points up and even played better defense because they were trying to help their teammate. They wanted to get this medal. And the medal for us, again, we talk about it's a medal, but it was an earned medal. So it earned their effort, earned this medal. It wasn't a medal where just having to have it. It was earned. And that actually made that medal even sweeter, is that here's one of your leaders that is down, and now I'm the next man up because they displayed that energy that I want to get to, that level that I want to play at. And that was sweet to see. Very proud to see that.
We talked about the earned medals versus the medals that are just kind of given. And it's not even just the medal, it's the win.
Yep.
The win, knowing that you went through that tournament undefeated, that specific team went through undefeated. So we're going to take a pause for the cause. We're going to come back, and we're going to sit down and actually talk about, we mentioned the process of earning the medal. We're going to talk about falling in love with the process of getting better and why, we're going to talk about some specific examples, but we're going to talk about how, the mistakes people make trying to force things. And, anyway, that's what we'll get into when we get back. Talk to you in a few. All right, y'all. So I kind of lied. We're shifting gears here. We want to move forward because we've kind of belabored the point and kind of browbeat y'all with our perspective on this. So how do we tie this together? And we're talking if you're a parent or a coach or a parent who wants to become a coach, who's interested in becoming a coach, how do you start putting that together by building athletes that enjoy the process of getting better and see value in that? So I guess the first question is, the very first thing to do And I would say this: I think checking in with the athletes you're currently working with. If you're a parent, you're checking in with the athletes that you're raising that lives in your house. If you're a coach, you check in with the athletes that are on your team. If you're a parent and a coach, you talk. You have two fronts to attack this on. But how do you get the kid to invest in the process, Coach Moe?
Well, that is a good point. So we've moved on, We talked about seeing it. We talked about what happened. And so how do you get them to invest? Again, like Brian said, the conversation should have been had a while ago with the kid and where they're at. Now that you had a conversation, now it's. I would say setting those goals, setting obtainable goals. So if their obtainable goal is to get to high school and make the team, let it be freshman, let it be sophomore, it is, you have to start setting those things in place for them. Like, hey, knowing what I know about high school or knowing what a lot of coaches know about high school is there's some running involved. There's some skill work that's involved. There's some before and after school programming that needs to be involved. There's things that at 8th grade you're not doing right now that you'll have to do in 6 months when you're a high schooler that you have to do. It's finding how that future looks like for that kid. And then you present it. This is where I think people, they miss. This is the point they miss. I found out these are the 10 things that you gotta look forward to. Present it. Then wait for a response.
Right.
And if the kid's like, man, I don't know about all that. Or their body language, a shoulder slump. We both work with kids. We've been doing this field right. The shoulder slump, the eyes start wandering off, the air, man, they don't make a noise. That's when you may have an issue. You have an issue. Not say that kid won't go on to be a high school player, but you just named some basic things for them to go through with tryouts look like. And they weren't happy about it. So having that, presenting that back to them is like one of the first things you do. And if it right there, they don't want to do it, or they're like, I don't like this process, that's when the conversation needs to switch. Are we just going to do intramurals?
Right.
Which is fine. Are we just going to do intramural? It's just a chance where you're just going to work on your grades. Yep, I'm just going to be and work on my grades. Perfect. We'll do intramurals and we'll work on your grades. Because I named 8 things and you balked at 6 of them.
And here's the thing. I can give you a tell of 2 players from my experience working in the group home world. Mm-hmm. Had a young man who was a football player, undersized lineman, undersized offensive lineman. I think he rotated in on defensive line, but he is undersized. I mean, 160 pounds for a high school offensive lineman isn't. I mean, even 10 years ago, that's still not right. That's not substantial. Here's what happened. He was undersized. He knew he was undersized. He worked harder than anybody else on that team. He had a goal. He wanted to play. He knew that he wasn't going to step onto a major university, and get a scholarship right off the rip. But what he did was he wanted to be able to walk on, and so he talked to people. Sat down and talked to people that played college ball, talked to coaches and everything, figured out what he needed to do. He needed to switch positions because he's undersized. And they tried him at linebacker, and he had some success there. But he asked what the process was to get to where he needed to be. He had to bulk up. He had to put on weight. And there's a lot of grueling kind of workout stuff that he had to do to get the kind of strength requisite to do that. And he through force of will and through learning to enjoy the process, of getting where that process ended up becoming a hobby for him and something he did in his downtime. So planning his macros, planning out his workouts and everything. He did all that stuff. Long story short, he enjoyed the process. It wasn't fun stuff he had to do, but he learned how to make it fun for him. Now, on the other end, we had a basketball player, and he was in my house, and he could have been, his shot was pure, man. I mean, it was a pure shot, and he had one of the sweetest jumpers on the squad. But in order for him to become a consistent starter, And he had the height, he had the size. He could have been a college player, but he didn't enjoy the process of getting better. So it was like pulling teeth to get him to go out and put up shots. We had a basketball hoop in the backyard. You had to constantly tell him to go out and get shots up. You had to constantly tell him to, go up. We had an entire workout facility to go up there and get some weights in, to go get some pickup games in. Like when he wasn't in a basketball game, all he did was want to lay around and then wonder when colleges rolled around why nobody was giving him those second looks. He couldn't even, he was wondering why the coach wasn't even giving him more time off the bench. He could have been a starter.
Right.
And coach knew he could have been a starter, but he didn't enjoy the process of getting better. And because he never learned to enjoy the process and take pride in the process, he never got better. It was always a chore to get him to do the things that he needed to do to improve. And so one kid who was an improbable college athlete ended up becoming a college athlete, and the one that was most likely to be a college athlete stopped.
As a trainer, we understand you're going to be tired. We understand this might have been your after your school workout. You understand you got things going on, and you may not smile the whole time that you're doing some of the extra stuff, but if you're showing up and you're actually giving an effort and you're applying it to you, you're going to see it different in yourself.
Right.
You're going to see it different in yourself. And so all we're saying is, it may be tough, but it's something you want to do. Work towards it. And you'll have days that are tough. You'll have days that are good. But at the end of the day, you're going to look better than your friend that's been playing in the driveway with you that has not done anything.
Exactly.
and then you're going to look better than the person that's in front of you right now if they stop working hard and now you have their position. That is progression. That is working towards where you need to be. And that is what you speak to as you may not be the kid that's really 6'11", that can jump out the gym and can shoot all day. You may be the kid that has to work harder because of your size, because of the school you might have went to, because of all the roadblocks, and people see that.
Right.
People see that. I want that kid. I want the first kid on my team. On my team. There's a lot of kids with talent. They're walking around this street right now, but I don't like their effort.
Right.
I don't like their effort.
And that's what, and I think for parents and coaches, I think one of the things you can do is be future focused. When you're talking to these kids when they're young, be future focused and talk about where they want to go. Mm-hmm. And you start talking about, well, in order to get to here, you have to go through this. You basically, in order to get through, if you're driving, if you're in your town and you want to get from the west side of town, you want to get to the west side of town, well, you're going to have to drive through the east side of town to get to the west side of town. That's just how things roll, You're going to have to go through certain things to get there, and you need to be focused. The way you're kind of communicating this is like, if your goal is to be a high school player, this is the course that you're going to have to walk, and get them used to that in their mind. Because if they can't even latch on to that, you're going to have a very difficult time as they get progressive and it starts getting to the unfun, boring stuff. So I would say possibly my tip would be, and this comes from years of working, doing behavioral stuff with kids and staff as well. Be future focused. In order to get to where you want to be, this is what you're going to have to go through, and that's just the roadmap. That's the roadmap to success. You have to do this in order to get to here, and if you don't, you're not going to get there. Be realistic about it.
Yep.
If you're not willing to go out and put up extra shots, you ain't going to make the high school basketball team, and that's the reality. So in order to make the high school basketball team, you have to go put up shots. Period. Point blank.
Somebody has to tell you.
Yeah.
Somebody has to tell you. I mean, and that's what we try to do. We on this podcast, and as we talk on our pages, we one thing I can say is that I'm a fair coach, and I'm an honest, upfront coach that's going to help you out. And I think we as coaches, I hope that you guys are listening. I hope you're subscribing. Listen to what I'm saying is be upfront with your players and have them be up front with you.
Right.
And if you're up front and the parents are up front and everybody's on the same page, we know how to approach the season. We know how to approach your particular kid with training. You may just have those kids that just really I feel that I'm good. I have a kid that does training not only with me, he had a personal trainer for his weight, and he still comes with other stuff. Great. Great. He does basketball stuff with us. He got a personal trainer to work on his nutrition and things like that too. And he comes to every single practice. So it's showing that kid wants to get better.
Right. Here's the thing. I mean, we talk about the process. Let's put another one out there. If you can't dribble with your left hand, you're not going to be the starting point guard on your high school team.
No.
It's not in the cards for you. So in order to get to be that starting point guard, you have to be able to dribble with your left hand.
It's a tough thing to watch. It's a very tough thing to watch. And I've worked at schools and I've watched it where they do a guard in and they're dribbling super fast high like it's 1950, and you see the guys are playing as Will Chamberlain and they're dribbling in a circle real fast and they throw a shot up real quick. I'm like, yikes. That is not going to work at a high school level.
So I think what I'm saying is, my point is, take all the might and should and all that other stuff out of your language and say, if you want to do X, you're going to have to show Y. That's just, you got to set it in your mind. You have to set the expectations for athletes. If this is what you want to go and this is what the path you want to be on, these are the things that you're going to have to do in order to get there. And you set down the roadmap, it becomes a lot easier to gamify, because that's what they call it now, to gamify the process. So that the process ends up becoming a game, in a different kind of game in and of itself. And here's the thing, the best athletes I've met are the ones that are competing against themselves.
Yep.
And so if you get players that are competing against themselves to get better, now you're on to something here, where they've gamified the process. So even the stuff that's not really fun, the stuff that's big fun for them, that's not really fun, ends up becoming something that ends up becoming part of the game, and ends up becoming a piece to a larger thing that is fun for them. So I think the first thing is, and the most important thing is, probably the central thing is, sit down with the player, make a roadmap of where they want to go.
Yep.
And figure out what you got to do to get there. It sounds oversimplified. Can guarantee you that there's a lot of people that go out without maps every single day, and they have no idea where they're going. And then they get frustrated when they get lost along the way. So that's the piece of advice I would throw in there. Coach Moe, do you have any advice that you want to toss in?
No, I definitely agree with that, and I think it's just realize your kids. Realize who your kid is. You know their personality. You live with them.
Right.
You know how much money you're spending on these programs. You know how much money you spend on training. You know the time and sacrifice that you've taken away from your own life and the other kids' life and the family life. So you have to have an idea of what you want it to look like, because if you're frustrated and the kid's frustrated with all the traveling, all the other stuff here, you're going to do it 4 more years if you commit to high school basketball. So this conversation probably needs to be had now, where it's like, are we going to do this for 4 more years, or hey, are we good right now?
If you don't like the process, you're going to have a hard time getting this kid to like the process, too. So, it's not just a solo journey. And we have parents of recent people that have just signed their letter of intent who can get on here and testify to that it is a lifestyle that they've taken upon themselves, and they've made lots of sacrifices to make this a reality and to get their kids to this point where they can, basically sign on the dotted line to commit to play on a higher level. I mean, those parents have made tremendous sacrifices too. The coaches that they've worked with, some of the parents are coaches. Mm-hmm. They've made sacrifices to make this thing a reality for them. And so, yes, the players worked hard. The parents also contributed by creating an environment that allowed these young men and young ladies to be very successful at what they're doing.
And at that next level, it's not just one coach.
Yeah.
It may be 7 coaches. It may be the strength and conditioning coach. It may be the assistant coach. There's a lot of people that life comes at you very, very quick. The calendar you have to remember, the weightlifting program you have to remember, it comes at you quick. And so if this conversation's not had and you come in and think it's a game, it's really going to make that player, especially you force them into something, not want to do it.
Well, and the common denominator does always end up being the player.
Yep.
What the player does, because at some point the kid's on the college campus, the parent's not in their ear the entire time, so this kid is going to have to be in love with the process of getting better. I say it, I stress it. You got to be in love with the process of getting better. You have to be in love with the process. Otherwise, you're not going to stick to it. I'm sorry. That's just how it goes. You don't have to, you don't have to, this is going to sound really weird. You don't have to like the process, but you have to be in love with the concept of getting better.
Yep.
And if you're in love with the process of getting better, then eventually you'll come along to like the process of it. So we're going to take a pause for the cause, and then we're going to come back and wrap this thing up for y'all. All right, so wrapping this thing up. We're powering through this podcast, and Moe and I are having a side conversation about who this podcast is for. And I think we're about 10 episodes in, and I think we kind of figured it out. This podcast is for coaches, Coach's Corner, but also for parents that want to be coaches, or parents that want to have a coach's mindset when developing their kids. And so we're trying to give you jewels and kind of insights into how coaches think and stuff like that, so that you can adjust what you're doing and what your kids are doing, so that they have a better shot at having success and become the kind of players that we know they can be. And so when we're talking to you guys, that's what we're talking about. We're giving you our very real insights of this thing. Coach Moe, years and years and years developing star players. He's giving you his best knowledge from this kind of stuff. And, some people are going to take it a certain kind of way and be mad about it. Others are going to keep it real and understand that what we're really trying to do is we're trying to give you some insight and some wisdom to help you have a better player. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is what this entire thing is about. Our motto is build a better athlete, build a better player. We constantly talk about that. Mm-hmm. You see it on the website. You see it on our social media. We are out about building better players. And we know that doesn't happen in a bubble. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. These parents have family. These parents have guardians. These parents have aunts and uncles. These athletes have aunts and uncles. They have other people that can help them and give them the guidance along the way. We're trying to teach those people how to shape this experience around this athlete so that they could be the best person they could possibly be. Because, being a great athlete is one thing, but being a terrible person while being a great athlete, that's kind of a moot point. And so we're trying to help you grow these athletes into great people, hardworking people that you can rely on. And so that's what a lot of our talk is about. Now, in the process, we come across people that, it's almost that lottery mindset, or I want to put I want to put a quarter in and a slot machine kind of thing. I want to put a quarter in and get out $150. Doesn't always work like that. Sometimes the effort you put in is what you get back out. And sometimes the increase of what you get out is only marginal, but it's good enough to demonstrate, hey, there's some value here. And so we're trying to get you guys to put in better and to kind of start coaching your athletes and giving them good expectations. We talked about it. Mo's talked about it all the time. The thing that can be very damaging to an athlete, especially if they're great, if they're one of those generational talents, one of the worst things you can do is sit around and tell them how much of a generational talent they are. If they start believing their own hype, what's going to happen is they're going to run into that generational talent who's better than they are, and they're going to get their little feelings hurt, and they're going to struggle because all these people have been telling me how great and wonderful I am, and now I run into the buzzsaw that shuts me down. And we've actually seen it up close and personal with kids that we've come in contact with, where their entire lives somebody's told them how wonderful and great, how transformative and amazing they are as a player, and then they get under a little bit of stress, and now their entire world view is conflicted. They didn't become worse. They're still a transformative player. but now they're doubting themselves.
Yep.
So we're trying to give you those jewels so that you can start setting that path. And that's what we talk about. One of the things is you map out where they want to go and tell them where they need to be. You can have a generational player who still needs to work on their shot.
In 2020, people don't like honesty.
Right.
And it's okay. And I think it's time to be honest with you as player, coach. You gotta be honest. You set it up perfectly. You gotta know the conversation has to be there. You gotta set up how you want your future to look. This conversation should be had, and the honesty part is coming from us. Is again, does everything we do perfect? No, but we've learned the hard way in some of these things, and by learning the hard way, we're trying to make it a lot easier for you. And that's the transparency we have here at Coach Moe Athletics, is we're not going to sit up here and act like there isn't things that go left. We're not going to go out that it will be perfect and every situation is the same, because it certainly is not. And there's definitely the player's personality, the situation, their year in school, their ability. There's a lot that play into that. So if you have a coach that is telling you at this point, hey, once you establish this, everything's fine, it's not. You have to work at it. It goes back to how we do our trainings, how we do it. It's like I can give you week 1 and the exercises there, but if you're doing the stuff wrong or not finishing sets or not doing what you're supposed to do, you're not going to see the results you want to do, and you may get yourself hurt.
Right.
So we're just giving you it, and you have to set it yourself.
Hey, Stewie.
Hey, Stewie's here. Stewie agrees.
So really, it's about us setting so that you have the good expectations, okay, of what you want to do. We're trying to set it up so that we're trying to educate you guys on how to get your athlete to fall in love with the process and become better athletes. Okay? That's the reality of what we're trying to do. And so we're trying to help you guys along the way. And there's mindset stuff that you can do and all the other stuff. But the first step is sitting down and figuring out where you are and where you want to be and what you need to do to get to where you want to be. That's about the bottom line of it. Be leery of any coach that starts talking about talking like your kid is at a destination. Coach Moe, I think you can help me out with this one. Be leery of the coach, and we kind of touched on it. Be leery of the coach that starts talking to your kid like they've already accomplished it. Like they've already reached the point that they need to be at, and there's nowhere else for them to go. Be leery of that coach.
That's really concerning for me. And this even goes to coaches that I'm close to. Like, stop. I'll help your kid train. I'm the guy. You want to get bouncy? Come to us. I'll get you jumping high. I'll work with your agility. Don't tell me that you have the best 7th grader in the state when you send them to me. Don't tell me you have the best 6th grader when you send them to me. Just tell me you have a great athlete that's willing to work.
Right.
So I can tell their middle school coach the same thing. And he or she can tell the high school coach the next day. Just say we have a kid that's going through the process. As me and Coach Hamp work together with a lot of kids, we talk about the process. And if you can go through the process and get to the end of the process, then we can talk about once the offers come, then you can say, hey, based off your offers, you are a pretty good player. You are doing what's supposed to do there. But don't give me a 7th grader with no offers, no anything yet. Has not even walked a day into a high school and dealt with a high school coach. Not just me, a high school coach. It may not be me. And so with a completely different thing that changes your point guard into a 4 on day 1. And now the kid is like, what? They're like, how are you going to handle that?
Right.
How are you going to handle that? So just be prepared. Things may happen differently, so you're going to start at this level preparing your athlete for that next step if the conversations and everything is set up before to show that's the goal for that kid. If it is not, then we prepare for being a high school student, which is fine, that is working on their grades, that maybe want to play in a mural, or maybe wants to try another type of sport while they're there, but we're going to have that conversation before. I suggest it happen before you even walk into high school or into a competitive, super competitive league of anything.
Right. Because otherwise you're taking this, you're taking a guppy and throwing them in the shark tank.
Right.
And you're not even going to get any extra teeth or some steroids so that they can grow up to be, somebody that can defend themselves in the shark tank. So the reality is, don't set your kids up for failure, and be leery of any coach that isn't having these kind of conversations. They're not having these honest conversations, or they're gassing your kid up on super premium unleaded fuel when they really need to be on diesel. They need to be taking in that diesel fuel so that they can know that they need to grow and get better.
Right.
Even, I would say you may be even doing a disservice to Mr. I'm the most highly recruited kid in the state. Okay, if your coach, if the coach you're with is comfortable in not pushing them to be better, you might be setting your kid might be set up for a rude awakening at some point in time, especially if it's before basketball, before they hit high school, before they hit the varsity team. You're telling this kid he's the best person in the position that they're in the city, and they haven't even made the high school roster yet. You're gonna you might be setting them up for a hard fall.
There's so many dynamics with high school, and it's so you have to set that player up for the right reason, because there's players that probably came with the expectation they're going to be playing for 4 years, and it's a different world, man. We got right now we're going through our evaluations, and then we'll have our what's considered our hell week, which is a lot of cardio too, and we're gonna lose kids.
Yeah.
And if you didn't give that kid that, and you told them that you're just gonna walk in there and just because you're tall gonna be on the team, and they're the last one down the court on this running, and they are not doing great with listening to coaches because they're a little loud. Oh, they're a little loud, or they're holding you accountable.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, getting held accountable. If you didn't tell them that, that's on you.
They didn't take advantage of our tryout training program, apparently, tryout prep program, and now they're the last ones on the court during tryouts during Hell Week. That cardio is leaning on them, is putting a shoulder on them, putting the elbow on them.
Oh, I seen it this week.
Yeah,
I seen it this week. Kids, I should have went to this. Should have went to this. Should have.
Yeah, it's too late. You weren't at the off-season workouts. We talked about it this summer.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what we're talking about. And you got some of these kids that they're all-stars on these 8th grade teams or whatnot, and some coach is gassing them up, not understanding that when they step onto the 9th grade team, they are up against they're going up against players that have been showing up to stuff and have been showing up to all the off-season workouts. Now they're in direct competition with them, and they're a step behind. They may be a better player, but they're still a step behind. They ain't prepared. So the long story short is, stop gassing these kids up. Give them realistic expectations of what they need to do and where they need to be. And stop letting them focus on everybody else. They need to focus on what they're doing to get better. Not anybody else's what other kids are doing on the court or all this other stuff. There's plenty of time to sit around and compare themselves to other players later on. They need to focus on them and their process of how they're getting better, and they're competing against themselves first before they step on that court. And those other kids are there. They're competing against themselves first. If you can't get motivated competing against yourself, you're not going to be able to maintain that same energy for other people. I just don't see it happening. So,
nope.
Coach Moe, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think we've hit it. I think we've hit it. We talk about it again. We're here to help. We're transparent. Just like any of our services. And if you have questions, we want you to ask these questions. Put it in the comments. To contact with these comments. If there's subjects you want to talk to us about, hit us up, and we'll talk about it. But I think this is things that we have seen these things that we want to help with, and there are hundreds, thousands of athletes that need to hear this, not just from us, that what you hear from us that you translate to the players as a coach.
Right.
You're telling them this too. Like one thing I tell you in coaching is make sure yourselves humble. I saw Coach Charles Wilson yesterday. Got it. Helped me out a lot. And he's a real good guy. And we talked about this. I said, what makes a good coach, and this may be a subject for one of our shows, makes a good coach is willing to be humble and listening to something that they have and adding it new to your thing. And he's the one that told me, like, how you get better is listening. And I listened to that, and this is why listen to what we're saying, because I probably learned this or learned through experience, just what you do, and say, this is what to avoid, because we actually might have had a kid that went through this and we didn't. We tried to baby that kid and it didn't work. So now we have to never do that again, because that's not going to help any of the kids out. So what we're saying is probably through some kind of experience that we had, and we want to help you as a coach or, a parent or, a parent coach, to set these meetings and stuff up.
So listening is a huge, I mean, that's probably the most important skill moving forward. So this is what we're going to say. Listen to our next words. Virtual training is coming. Mm-hmm. Take advantage of it, because this is going to give you something that you can, it's going to give you an opportunity as a parent to sit down and evaluate your kid's commitment to getting better, to the process of getting better. It's going to give you real insight about how well they jump into this kind of stuff and how self-motivated they are. And then you can make an honest decision about, okay, this kid is really self-motivated. I think they're going out there and putting in the work. Now I can invest a little bit more into their basketball scholarship education kind of thing. Or it's like pulling teeth to get this kid to invest in this program. We paid for it, and they're barely doing the minimum for a virtual training program. Is it going to be money well spent to pay for an actual professional to spend time with them? So that's one of the benefits of getting this virtual program. You kind of get a good assessment to see what kind of effort your kid is willing to put in, your player is willing to put in off the court or away from coach's eyes. So anyway, be on the lookout for that. That's what we got coming up. We will be back at you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. And again, hey, we're always looking for sponsors. You can reach us at coachmoathletics@gmail.com. We're looking for sponsors for these teams. We have a couple of very good programs. Shout out to our 7th and 8th grade boys. You've played fantastic, and we're ready for a fun and rewarding and competitive season. But we're looking for sponsors for these kids. So, and they deserve sponsors. They've done the stuff that they need to do. So, we're trying to get some sponsorship opportunities for them. And so, if you're interested, give us a call, give us a shout. CoachMoAthletics@gmail.com. Anything you want to add, Coach Mo, before we head out?
That's it. CMA All-Stars 8th graders will be back in action tomorrow and Friday. Friday and Saturday at the Iowa Fieldhouse, 6:30, 8:30, and 7 o'clock p.m. on Saturday. Come out and support. And you got a lot of high-level talent there. We also will have some total athlete trainings this weekend, so make sure you're there. If you want to know about those, want to drop into those, again, go to the website. And you can also, if you're a big Facebook person, go to our Coach Moe Athletics Total Athlete / Basketball Academy group and like it. And you can follow our schedule there and hit us up if you want to try one of those classes out. Let us know. But like we said, stay tuned. Virtual training is coming. We hope it's seamless, and we're not going to skip a beat, because things are probably bound to change.
Right.
So just, if you're in watching, it's bound to change, and we want to be prepared for it, so stay tuned.
All right, so that's what we got for you. We will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Coach Mo and Brian, we'll talk to you later. Peace.
Peace.